So, this is the course unit 11, the rules on granting parole. Actually, parang na-discuss na rin to last week, pero this is much elaborated than that one. Okay. So, the topics to be discussed today, the rules of granting a parole, reports to be accomplished by supervising PPO, and determination of the parole supervision. So, again, what is the concept of parole? As we all know, it is a form of supervised conditional liberty from prison granted prior to the expiration of sentence. Kasi nga, diba, they need to serve the minimum sentence first before they can apply for parole. So, it is designed to enhance the protection of the community through the supervision and rehabilitation of selected offenders following their release from prison. So, umulit siya, okay? So, philosophy behind parole. So, the modern use of parole as a correctional method stems from change in penal philosophy to emphasize reform and rehabilitation rather than retribution and punishment. As we all know, kapag community-based correction, we are trying to correct or giving a most personalized or parang mas humane treatment on the part of the criminal. So, parole administration, again, diba? The parole system in the Philippines is administered by the Department of Justice. That is why BPP and PPA is under the DOJ. Okay, kaya pantay lang yan. Ang pinagkaiba lang ng BPP and PPA kapag sa parole, sino nga ang nag-approve kapag parole? It is sino nag-approve?
Board of Pardons and Parole Court.
Ang role ni Parole and Probation Administration, siya yung nagsusupervise or yung officer niya mismo yung nagsusupervise doon sa taong nagkakandak ng parole or nag-undergo ng parole. So, the origin of parole, it is derived from the French word parole d'honneur, which means the word of honor. Okay? Which means word of honor. And it's used in connection with the release of prisoners based on the word of honor. Bakit po? Kasi bago sila mapili in undergoing parole, dadaan sila ng mark system or parang GCTA. Kasi kung hindi naman qualified din yung kanilang, kanwari, habitual delinquent sila, hindi sila pwede or mag-apply sa parole. So, again, as a definition of parole, it is the conditional release, sabi nga niya, conditional release of an offender from a correctional institution after he has served the minimum of the prison service. Minimum sentence muna. So, it is under the law of Act number 4103, otherwise known as ISLAW or Indeterminate Sentence Law that prescribes the parole system in the Philippines. So, later on, sa later part ng ating discussion, i-discuss natin ng Act 4103. So, what are the essential requisites of parole? Ayan, na-discuss na ito last week pero ulitin na lang natin. So, that the offender is convicted, he serves parts of his sentence in prison, minimum sentence, that he is released before the full expiration of his sentence, syempre, kaya yung kalahati kasi nun, or yung after ng minimum, yung maximum niya is, remaining sentence niya is served niya sa labas. So, the said release is conditional dependent on his good behavior. Conditional siya, kaya nga conditional release kasi once he violated any of the rules implemented in the conduct of parole, there is a big chance of serving again his remaining sentences inside the jail. So that he remains on parole until the expiration of his maximum sentence or until he receives a final discharge from the parole. So, Act number 4103, again, an act to provide for an indeterminate sentence and parole for all persons convicted to certain crimes by the courts of the Philippine Islands. Kasi not all the crimes, diba? Meron tayong mga disqualifications na hindi lahat ng crimes pwedeng apply sa parole. So, to create a board of indeterminate sentence and to provide funds therefore and for the other purposes. Act 4103 is responsible for creating parole. Not just only for creating parole, but also for creating the BPP, yung Boards of Pardons and Parole. So, simply, it is called as Indeterminate Sentence Law or the Parole Law. So, the Act is amended by Act number 4225. So, when we say indeterminate sentence, again, kung sinabi natin indeterminate, diba, it refers to the term of imprisonment with no definite duration within a prescribed maximum. Ibig sabihin, hindi sakto. Yun nga yung meron 6 years to 12 years. Ganyan. So, the prison term imposed after conviction for a crime which does not state a specific period of time already state, but just a range of time such as 5 to 10 years. Yan. Kapag ganun ang kulong mo, depende yan sa ano ang pag-uugali mo sa loob. Okay? So, yun ang tinatawag nating indeterminate sentence. Hindi fix ang iyong sentence. So, important. The BPP, okay, is now, dati kasi under the Islaw Law or Act 4103, ang tawag sa Boards of Pardons and Parole is BIS, okay, Board of Indeterminate Sentence. Now, di ba, as you can see dito, ayan, di ba, ano siya, na under Act 4225 and further amended by RA 4203, from BIS, it is now called as Board of Pardons and Parole. Wag na yan. Umulit yan. Okay. Consideration to grant of parole and conditional pardon. Ano ba yung mga considerations? Ayan. That the age of petitioner, the gravity of the offense, and the manner in which it was committed, and the institutional behavior or conduct and previous criminal record, if any. Yan. Evidence that petitioner will be legitimately employed upon the list. Ayan. A showing that petitioner has place where he will reside. Ayan. Availability of aftercare services for the petitioner who is old, seriously ill, or suffering from physical disability. Actually, yung mga nagkakandak ng parole, binibigay na yan those ages na 70 plus or yung may sakit na. Yan. So, attitudes towards the offense and degree of remorse. And the risk to other persons, including the victim, his witnesses, his family and friends, or the community in general, the possibility of retaliation by the victim, his family and friends. So, tinitignan din nila yung aspect na yun kung kanwari lalabas ba siya, maghihiganti ba siya sa labas, or magiging danger lang siya sa mga within the community. Again, so special considerations for the grant of parole and conditional pardon. Youthful offenders, automatic yan kapag kabataan. Prisoners who are 60 years old and above. Ayan. Physical disability such when the prisoner is bedridden. Ganyan. A deaf, mute, a leper, a cripple, or blind, or similar disabilities. Kapag PWD siya, kinoconsider na rin siya na ibigyan ng parole. So, serious illness and other life-threatening disease. For example, may AIDS siya. Ganyan. So, imbis na i-stay siya sa loob, baka i-release siya under parole. Ganyan. Now, let's go with the indeterminate sentence law or the ISLAW. Wait lang, masyado yata akong mabilis. Do you have any questions? Kasi na-discuss na rin yun.
Pagpusta kaya rin, ma'am?
Ala, no? Ating kayo pang kutang.
Wala man, ma'am.
Wala ko sa magpusta mo. May biting ko kayong question din.
Feeling ko kasi masyadong madilis akong mag-discuss. Kasi ito na to, ito na yung pinaka-last part ng discussion natin, ISLAW na. And
Oh, last part na yan ma'am.
Oo. Hindi, madali na lang kasi siya. Kasi konti lang talaga ang parole. Di ba, nag-discuss na rin siya last week.
Yes po.
Siguro mag-Q&A na lang tayo after, ano. So, the Indeterminate Sentence Law or ISLAW Act 4103 as amended. Yan. So, the basic mandate, again, pag sinabi nating indeterminate, what does it mean?
Walang kasiguraduhan.
Walang kasiguraduhan. Ano ibig sabihin ng indeterminate? Indeterminate sentence.
I-fixing kaya na sentence, no?
I-fix ang sentence.
Wala pong specific range of time.
Ayan. So, the basic mandate of indeterminate sentence law is the imposition of the indeterminate sentence which is comprised by minimum term and a maximum term. Kaya nga sabi niya pwedeng 5 years to 10 years. So, nagbabari kasi yan sa loob. Tinitingnan nila yung kung tatagal ba siya. Basta yung pinaka-maximum na nasa loob siya, 10 years. Ganun. So, the court, instead of imposing a straight penalty, he must determine 2 penalties. It is indeterminate in the sense that after serving the minimum, the convict may be released on parole, or if he is not fit for release, he shall continue serving his sentence until the end of the maximum term. Ganun siya. So, kung mabait ka siguro sa kulungan, tapos nag-apply ka ng parole, pwede yan. After 5 years, lalaya ka. Pero kung nakita nila na pasaway ka, rogue ka, or parang habitual na delinquent ka sa loob ng kulungan, so therefore, you need to serve your remaining sentences inside the jail or the prison system. So, what is the coverage of the application? So, all person, as a general rule, all person convicted of any crimes under Philippine courts, regardless whether it is a violation of revised penal code or special penal law, are qualified for the application of indeterminate sentence law. So, kahit na ang kaso mo is under ng RPC or under ng special penal laws, can you give me examples of special penal laws? Ano pinagkaiba ng RPC sa SPL?
Mended.
Anong pinagkaiba ng RPC sa SPL? Basic? Law yan, law.
Kapamoy sipang gepa niya kalingon ko.
Anyone? Anong pinagkaiba ng revised penal? Grade pa yata kami ng second year. Tsaka ng first year. First year tinuturo na yan. Diba yung classifications of crimes? Crim 111. Estudyante ko ba yung Crim 111 o Law 112 lang?
Ma'am, yun po nga atang RPC, ma'am, ano siya? Crime against person.
Oh my God, wala
Char.
na sa RPC. Ano yung subject nyo today? Sa law? Di ba tinuro yan sa
CRAD.
first year?
Di ba itong kahit ha?
No, sige. Isip-isip din. Gamitin ang utak. Sige nga. Ano pinagkaiba ng RPC sa SPL? Di ba, Revised Penal Code, yung isa special penal laws. Di ba, we have classifications of crimes. We have mala prohibita and mala inse. Oh, natatandaan na ba?
Offense tsaka crime.
Offense and
Crime.
felony.
Felony.
Oh, kapag felony it is?
RPC.
Kapag
RPC.
offense,
Special law.
Special Penal Laws.
yung
Ma'am, namuatang
pinag-aaralan,
danan ko.
yung pinag-aaralan nyo today, kay, ano ba yung law nyo ngayon? Law 1? Diba? Yung pinag-aaralan nyo na law na yan is RPC, Revised Penal Code. Law Book 1. Tama po ba?
Yes.
Ngayon, pagka second sem nyo, meron kayong Law Book 2. Doon napapasok yung mga crime titles. Yung mga crimes against persons, crimes against property. You have at least from Article 113 to Article 366. If I'm not mistaken, all of that are the 13 titles, under the 13 titles of the Revised Penal Code, Book 2. So, nandun nakapaloob yung mga felonies natin. So, there are groups of, groups of titles of the felonies. Kapag under siya ng book or kodigo penal natin, yung color red na parang Bible, Revised Penal Code, okay? Ang tawag sa kanila, felony. Okay? And also, as always, those felonies are mala-inse. Diba? Ibig sabihin, wrong in nature. Yun namang mga special penal laws, ano yung mga example niyan? Ito yung mga offenses, diba? Example of special penal laws. Anyone? Example of special penal laws. Oh my goodness. Umabot ka ng third year. Nakalimutan ang ganito. Pang basic to, first year. O, ano yung mga special penal laws? Example of special penal laws.
Cybercrime.
Cybercrime. These are yung mga RA. Kapag ginawa siya ng mga senator, ginawa siya ng mga basta out of the book, out of the RPC, it is called special penal laws. Ay, yung mga RAs, memorandum circular, local government ganito. Yan ang mga offenses. It means they are mala prohibita. When we say mala prohibita in nature, they are not wrongfully in nature. For example, pagka sinabing malainse, pag pinatay kita, okay, kahit walang batas yan, alam mong mali. Sa mata ng Diyos, sa mata ng tao, kahit sabihin mong walang batas,
Evil in
pumatay ka,
nature.
evil na siya. Pero kapag mala prohibita, prohibition lang. For example, naglalakad ka. Naglalakad ka, masama ba yun? Ano, naglalakad ka sa daan. Masama ba yun? May pinatay kang tao, may sinaktan ka? Wala. Pero kapag sinabi ng batas na bawal maglakad dyan at naglakad ka, nagiging masama siya. Bakit? Kasi merong batas. Ibig sabihin, yung mismong act, it is not evil in nature. Nagiging masama lang siya kasi pinagbabawal siya. That is mala prohibita.
Wala mo yung hazing na, ma'am.
Yung hazing, pwede. Pero ang hazing kasi,
Diba?
pwede siyang mala prohibita, pwede na siyang mala inse. Kasi doon sa pagpalo.
Mhm.
Okay? Pero ang binibigay example, for example, jaywalking. Diba? Kung naglalakad ka lang ba, may sinasaktan kang tao? Kung yung act mismo, yung mismong paglalakad, masama ba siya? Hindi. Pero nagiging masama lang siya Kasi merong batas na nagbabawal na bawal kang maglakad doon sa certain road na yon. Nakita na yung pinagkaiba. So, revised penal code, those are the mala-insa or parang wrong, evil in nature. Kapag special penal laws, these are the RAs, or say, Republic Acts, yung mga RA na yan, gawa yan ng mga senators, yung mga, legislators. Nagigets na po ba niyan? Okay, as a general rule in the parole, okay, those crimes under revised penal code and those crimes under the special penal laws are both qualified in the application of the ISLAW or the Indeterminate Sentence Law. So, hindi siya sinasabi na ang pwede lang mag-apply po sa parole is yung mga crimes under revised penal code. Okay? So, exemptions. Okay? Meron tayong exemption. Those persons specifically disqualified by the law. For example, ang kinumit niyang crime is crimes against national security. Diba? Yung mga treason, ganyan. So, therefore, pwede na siyang automatically disqualified yan kahit under siya ng revised penal code. Diba meron mga disqualifications which has been discussed last week?
Yes.
Disqualified persons, ayan, diba? ISLAW is not applicable to persons who are, ayan, convicted of offenses punishable by death or life imprisonment. Those convicted of treason, conspiracy, or proposal to commit treason, misprision of treason, rebellion, sedition, espionage, or piracy. Those who are habitual delinquents, ayan yung paulit-ulit. Those who shall have escaped from confinement or evaded sentence, yung mga tumakas. Those who having granted conditional pardon by the President shall have violated the terms thereof. Pag binigyan siya ng conditional pardon and then nag-violate siya, hindi siya pwedeng mag-apply dyan. So, those whose maximum periods of imprisonment do not exceed 1 year, lalo na kung di naman nag-exceed ng 1 year, for example, 8 months lang ang kanyang term, yung imprisonment term, therefore, huwag ka na mag-take ng parole kasi lalo lang siya magtatagal. So, if convicted by final judgment at the time of the effectivity of WAC 4103, those sentenced to the penalty of disero or suspension. Next, ayan. If the accused was granted parole and violated some conditions of the parole, what will happen? Ano daw mangyayari? A warrant of arrest will be issued by the court and the accused will be made to serve the rest of the remaining or unexpired portion of his sentence. Yun ang pinagkaiba niya sa probation. Ang kanagandahan ng parole kapag nag-violate ka, okay, ng rules mo under the conditions of parole, therefore, kapag ikukulong ka nila ulit, yung natitirang term mo na lang, yun ang isa-serve mo sa kulungan. Not unlike kay probation, na once na nagkamali ka, or once na nag-violate ka, back to zero. Yan. So, wag na to. Classifications of penalties, iba na yan. Ito yung mga tinatawag nilang indeterminate sentence. Yan, di ba? Yung 20 years, 1 day to 40 years, 12 years, 1 day to 20 years, ganyan. So, these are the duration of penalties. So, again, do you have any questions? Then, yun lang ang ating parole. You need to clarify something? Open all your cameras and I will stop this recording.